My name is Lisa Knight. I am from Carlinville. I just graduated from Blackburn in December of 2017, and I was a theater major with a music minor. And now I work for Blackburn College as a traveling admissions counselor for Southern Illinois for freshmen and transfer students. So my parents both attended Blackburn College. They both came here, and my father is from Calhoun County, and when you say from Calhoun County, you just say the whole county because there's not a whole lot of it. And then my mother is from the Bethalto Wood River area, and they both ended up here because of the work program, and then they met through the work program. They were both working in new construction, and that was a very interesting meeting and love story. They actually got married before they finished college, and my eldest brother was essentially raised on campus. So I never wanted to attend Blackburn because it was home. And I knew the professors by their first names. We have a chemistry teacher here on campus, Dr. Armstrong. He has 3 sons who are the same age as my brothers. So they all hung out together, and I call him Pops. So I wasn't going to have a chemistry teacher who I call Pops on a regular basis for my college professor. That was not desirable. So yeah, and being from Carlinville, I was very involved with the summer repertory theater here, and all of our performances were done on the Blackburn stage. So I also was convinced that I couldn't learn anything new from Blackburn because I've already performed there, and theater was what I wanted to go into. Well, whenever I was initially looking into schools, I knew I had to stay near home, but I didn't want to stay at home because I had a mutation of West Nile. So I had no immune system, so I got sick a lot. So I knew I had to be near home because of that. And so I went to a school that was far enough away that I didn't have to be home all the time, but it was close enough that I could commute easily. That was one of the main things I was looking for. And of course they had to have a theater department. And so I did attend another university, and I went there for a year, but I continued to get worse. My illness just wasn't working out with the commuting, and so I had to drop out of college. And then I wasn't able to attend school for 2 more years after that because of the illness. And then after I got better, we tried some experimental treatments, and I got lucky and they worked. I was able to go back to college begrudgingly because I was convinced that that was going to be really hard and that I couldn't remember how to learn, but I was pushed into it, and I attended Lewis and Clark Community College, and I went there for 2 years, and it was a really good experience, and I was glad that I went. And then I made sure all of my credits were transferable to a different university so I could go straight over there into their program. And I was all lined up and ready to go to that university, and everything fell through. Nothing, it just didn't work out. So whenever I was getting ready to transfer into the other university, I was convinced that I had everything planned out. I thought I was ready, and I knew exactly what to do because I had dealt with universities before. I knew how to hound their financial aid and talk to the admissions people to make sure I was registered into the classes that I wanted to take. And I had it all planned out. I was signed up for auditions. I had all my classes ready to go. I'd been talking to financial aid, and I had an apartment that I was ready to move into and a job off campus that I had all lined up. And then 3 days before classes started, I get an email saying, I have been dropped from all my classes because they have not been paid for. And I had just talked to financial aid the day before and said, okay, everything's set, right? We're good to go. And they told me yes. Turns out they were wrong, and they ended up finding out there was a hold on my account And so I went to financial aid to figure out why my classes weren't paid for, and they said, oh, there is actually a hold on your account, our bad. So then I asked them what I could do, and they said that I would have to essentially write an essay and do all of this paperwork to then talk to a committee to convince them that the hold should be taken off of my account, so then financial aid would come through. And so I asked them how long that would take, and they said approximately 3 months. And in the meantime, I could take my classes. But that meant that if the financial aid committee didn't agree that the financial hold should come off, then I would have to pay for all of those classes. And I could not afford that. So I walked out of the building, sat outside, called my mother, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And she was kind of talking to me, making sure I was calm because I'm a feisty, emotional redhead, so I was very angry. And I said, okay, let's look at Blackburn. So I came back home that same day, and I came to Blackburn's campus, and I spoke with financial aid, and I spoke with admissions, and I applied to Blackburn, I got accepted, I had all my transcripts move over and my financial aid all covered, and signed up for classes within 3 hours. And classes started on Monday. So because I transferred to Blackburn, I was a little more prepared for the work environment that is involved with Blackburn. I had commuted to a college, been a full-time student, and had a job off campus before even attending here. So I was prepared for the time management and the work that would be involved with coming to a work college. So I found the work program to actually be very simple. And I think that as long as you're prepared for it, it can be very easy. Like, I knew what I wanted my major to be. I knew I was going to be a theater major, so I knew I would have to make sure my evenings were available. So I made the point of finding a job on campus that had morning hours, so I didn't ever have to worry about that clashing. So I also looked at my own personal experience. I have worked manual labor my entire life, so I went to physical plant where they do campus maintenance, and I knew I'd be comfortable there, and they had morning hours, so I went there and applied for a job with them, and I was lucky enough to get in. And so the work program came very easy to me, and it's one of the things you learn the fastest at Blackburn is time management, because you do have to learn how to balance that life very quickly. Initially, the plan was to come to Blackburn for a semester and work out the financial aid mess that had happened at the other university, and then I would transfer over to that other university. But then in actually being in the Blackburn environment with the work program and with the small campus and with Blackburn's specific culture that you find here, I was very comfortable, and I was extremely supported by faculty, staff, other students that then I just didn't want to leave. I saw all of the opportunities that Blackburn provided. I saw the work program and all it was teaching me to do and preparing me for. And I had teachers who were pushing me into being in certain clubs and other extracurricular activities that I could then put on my resume and learn a lot from. So I stuck around because it was actually exactly where I needed to be. Blackburn, I didn't want to come to Blackburn because it was home. So I ran away from home and I tried to do the crazy circus life out somewhere else. But then I ended up coming back to Blackburn completely unintentionally. And then I didn't want to leave because it was home. Because at Blackburn, a student is more than a dollar sign. They're not just the tuition they bring in, because Blackburn makes a point of making sure that everyone gets a quality education that they can afford. Blackburn makes sure to offer a lot of opportunities to its students. And because we are a small college environment, that means that your teachers get to know you on a one-on-one basis. And that then leads to, they know your strengths and weaknesses, and they know where to push you and where to help you. And they know where to help guide you so that you can continue to grow and expand. I started out working in physical plant, and I loved that job. I liked working with my hands and getting the opportunity to fix the dorms and all the buildings and stuff like that. And I quickly moved up. I started as a general worker and I moved up to an assistant manager, and I was convinced I was going to stay in that job. But then I had a teacher who knew of a different job opportunity on campus that was office work, and she knew I had never worked in an office before. So she started to kind of guide me into applying for that position, because it's really good to have office experience, and it was involved with working with institutional development. And with my theater degree, that's very helpful because there's a lot of fundraising opportunities and everything that you need to be able to hone in on and focus on whenever you're in theater. So she steered me in that direction. So I ended up applying for that job, and I got it. And so I worked in institutional advancement. And through working in institutional advancement, I actually had a lot of one-on-one time with the president of the college, and he found out I was from Carlinville. So then there was this scholarship opportunity that they were announcing, the Macoupin Promise. And he's like, hey, you're from Macoupin County, you're from Carlinville, and you attend Blackburn. How about you give a speech? He sees me at work one day and asks me if I'm willing to give a speech at this event. And I give the speech at the event, and it goes over really well. And because of this speech at the event, I am then noticed by the admissions department here on campus. So by the time I graduated, they convinced me to apply for the admissions job, and now I work for Blackburn. So Blackburn is a small private liberal arts college. We have approximately 500 to 600 students here on campus, so that means that we're pretty small. Our average student-teacher ratio is 11:1, and that means that you get a lot of hands-on experience. Your teachers get to know you. They might even ask you to dog sit for them if you're lucky, because everyone wants puppy therapy. You get to know your teachers on a personal level, and then they can help you grow, and that can be intimidating because that means that it's easier to feel like you're letting someone down whenever you don't meet expectations or get that grade that you know that they want you to get. But at the same time, you're actually getting the education. You're not just a number sitting in a lecture hall where a teacher's not communicating to you, they're not talking to you, they're talking at you. So you're actually getting the full education that you're paying for. And at Blackburn, we're making it more affordable. We're trying to make it more affordable. We're meeting you at the cost that you can pay. It is a small town environment, but that's also really fun because that means that Carlinville has a lot of festivals that happen. We have an apple festival, we have a historical festival, we have the fall festival, and then we have things like the Christmas market. So there are tons of town community events happening. During the summer, they have the Muni Band playing on the square in the gazebo. And we do have stuff to do in Carlinville, believe it or not. We have a movie theater, we have a bowling alley, and we have coffee shops that you can go to and restaurants that you can go to. And what's also nice is that we're in the middle. We are an hour away from Springfield and an hour away from St. Louis. So if you need to go to a city, it's extremely accessible.